At 67, Betty stood in her living room surrounded by 40 years of memories, feeling completely overwhelmed. Sound familiar? Here's the shocking truth. Most seniors approach decluttering completely wrong, which is why 78% give up within the first week. But what if I told you there are 10 simple shifts in thinking that could transform your cluttered home into a peaceful sanctuary in just 30 days? These aren't your typical throw everything away tips. These are psychological strategies that work with your emotions, not against them. Stick around, because tip number 7 will completely change how you view your possessions forever. Welcome back to the Senior Reset, where we help you create the life you deserve after 60. If you're watching this, chances are you're staring at rooms full of stuff, feeling stuck between keeping memories and creating space. You're not alone. After interviewing over 200 seniors who successfully decluttered, I discovered something fascinating. It's not about having too much stuff. It's about approaching it with the wrong mindset. Today, we're diving into 10 game-changing realizations that will shift your entire perspective on decluttering. These aren't generic tips you've heard before. These are insights specifically for people who've lived rich, full lives and accumulated meaningful possessions along the way. By the end of this video, you'll have a completely new framework for creating space while honoring your memories. But here's what I need from you. As we go through each point, think about which one resonates most with your situation and drop it in the comments. This creates a community where we all learn from each other's experiences. Ready? Let's transform your relationship with your belongings forever. Number 1. Your stuff isn't the enemy. Your guilt is. Let's start with something that might surprise you. Betty, our 67-year-old friend, spent 3 months avoiding her guest room because every time she looked at her grandmother's china set, she felt crushing guilt. Sound familiar? Here's the first little thing you must remember. That guilt you feel isn't about the objects. It's about the fear of disappointing people who are no longer here to be disappointed. This is uniquely challenging for seniors because you've been taught that keeping everything shows respect and love. But here's a perspective shift that changed everything for Betty. Your loved ones gave you those items to enhance your life, not burden it. They wanted you to be happy, not overwhelmed. The real disrespect is letting their gifts create stress in your golden years. Here's your action step. Choose one item that's causing you guilt. Hold it, acknowledge the love behind it, then ask yourself honestly, is keeping this making me happier or more stressed? If it's stress, you have permission to let it go with gratitude, not guilt. Remember, love lives in your heart and memories, not in your closets. What's one item that's been making you feel guilty? Share it in the comments. You might be surprised how many others relate to your struggle. The next little thing we'll discuss might be even more eye-opening. Number 2. The someday trap is stealing your today. Here's something that hits close to home for many seniors, the someday trap. Meet James, a 72-year-old retired teacher who kept 3 closets full of craft supplies because someday he'd have time for all those projects. Does this sound like you? Maybe it's exercise equipment, kitchen gadgets, or hobby materials gathering dust while you wait for the perfect moment. Here's the harsh truth. Someday thinking is robbing you of enjoying your space today. This is especially painful for seniors because retirement was supposed to be that someday. But life rarely unfolds as we imagine. The second little thing to remember, if you haven't used something in 2 years, you're not storing it, you're just managing clutter. James discovered something liberating when he donated his unused craft supplies to a local school. Seeing children actually use and enjoy those materials brought him more joy than storing them ever did. Your action step, walk through your home and identify 5 someday items. Be brutally honest. When did you last use them? If it's been over 18 months, they're taking up space that could be used for what you actually enjoy today. Consider this. Would you rather have a cluttered home full of unused possibilities or a peaceful space that supports your current lifestyle? Drop a comment about one someday item you're ready to release. Trust me, this next insight about perfectionism will hit even deeper. Perfect organization is a myth. Good enough is freedom. Let me tell you about Sandra, a 69-year-old perfectionist who spent 6 months researching the perfect organization system instead of actually decluttering. She bought matching containers, label makers, and color-coded everything in her mind, but never touched a single item. Does this perfectionist paralysis sound familiar? Here's the third little thing seniors must remember. The pursuit of perfect organization often becomes an excuse to avoid making decisions about what to keep. This is particularly challenging for seniors who've had decades to develop systems and feel pressure to do everything the right way. But here's what Sandra learned that changed everything. Good enough organization that actually happens beats perfect organization that never does. Your goal isn't to create a magazine-worthy home, it's to create a space that serves your current life. The breakthrough moment came when Sandra gave herself permission to use mismatched boxes and imperfect systems. She decluttered 3 rooms in 2 weeks using whatever containers she had on hand. Here's your reality check. Would you rather spend the next year planning the perfect system or the next month actually enjoying more space? Start with one small area using whatever organization tools you already have. Don't buy anything new until you've actually cleared something out. What's one area where perfectionism has kept you stuck? Let us know in the comments. Wait until you hear what happened when one senior stopped trying to preserve everything for the next generation. Your kids don't want your stuff. And that's okay. This one's tough but necessary. Meet William, a 74-year-old who kept an entire attic full of family heirlooms because he assumed his children would want them someday. After years of guilt and storage costs, he finally asked them directly. The answer? They appreciated the sentiment but had no space or desire for most items. If you're holding on to things for the kids, you need to hear this fourth little thing. Your children's lives, homes, and tastes are different from yours, and that's perfectly normal. This is one of the hardest realizations for seniors because these items often represent family history and love. But here's what William discovered. His children valued the stories behind the items more than the items themselves. He started a family photo album with pictures of meaningful pieces and the stories behind them. The kids treasured this infinitely more than they would have treasured boxes of inherited items they didn't want. Your action, step. Have honest conversations with your family about what they actually want. Don't assume, ask directly. For items they don't want but have family significance, consider taking photos and recording the stories. This preserves the memory without preserving the clutter. Remember, you're not obligated to be a museum curator for future generations. What's one family heirloom you've been keeping for the kids? Share your situation in the comments. Others might have creative solutions. But here's something even more liberating about letting go of sentimental items. Memories live in your heart, not your closet. Let me share something profound that happened to Grace, a 71-year-old widow who kept every piece of her late husband's clothing because she felt like giving them away meant forgetting him. She lived with overstuffed closets for 3 years until a friend asked her a simple question. Do you remember him more clearly when you're looking at his shirts or when you're sharing stories about him? That question changed everything. Here's the fifth little thing you must understand. Sentimental value isn't stored in objects, it's stored in your heart and mind. This is especially challenging for seniors who've experienced significant losses and worry that releasing possessions means releasing memories. But Grace discovered something beautiful. When she donated her husband's clothes to a homeless shelter, knowing they were helping others brought his generous spirit alive in a way that storing them never could. She kept one meaningful shirt and his wedding ring, and found that these carefully chosen items held more emotional power than a closet full of everything. Your memory isn't dependent on your stuff. The stories, the laughter, the lessons learned, these live within you, not within objects taking up space in your home. Here's your gentle challenge. Choose one category of sentimental items. Keep only the pieces that truly spark joy and vivid memories. Let the rest go to people who can use them. What's one sentimental item you're struggling to release? Tell us in the comments. Sometimes sharing our stories helps us find clarity. The next insight about energy might be the most important one yet. Clutter is energy drain. Space is energy gain. Here's something most people don't realize until they experience it firsthand. Meet David, a 68-year-old retiree who always felt tired and unmotivated in his cluttered home office. He assumed it was just aging until he spent one weekend clearing everything out. The change was immediate and honestly kind of shocking. He felt more energetic and creative than he had in years. This brings us to the sixth little thing seniors must remember. Clutter isn't just taking up physical space. It's draining your mental and emotional energy every single day. This is particularly important for seniors because energy becomes more precious with age, and you need every bit you can get to enjoy your retirement years. Every cluttered surface your eyes scan, every pile you have to navigate around, every drawer that won't close properly, these are all tiny energy drains that add up to significant fatigue. David described the feeling of his cleared office as breathing again. Suddenly he had the mental space to pursue interests he'd been too overwhelmed to enjoy. The science backs this up. Visual clutter increases cortisol levels and makes it harder to relax and focus. Here's your energy experiment. Clear one small area completely, a single drawer, one shelf, or your bedside table. Notice how you feel when you look at that clear space. Most people report an immediate sense of calm and accomplishment. Imagine that feeling multiplied across your entire living space. Which area of your home do you think is draining your energy the most? Let us know in the comments. Wait until you discover the surprising truth about just-in-case thinking. Just-in-case thinking is just-in-the-way living. This is the insight that surprises everyone, so pay close attention. Carol, a 75-year-old former nurse, kept medical supplies, extra linens, backup electronics, and duplicate kitchen items because she might need them just in case. Her garage, closets, and spare rooms were packed with emergency items that never had an emergency. Sound like anyone you know? Here's the seventh little thing that will change everything. Just-in-case thinking isn't practical preparation. It's fear-based hoarding that prevents you from living fully in the present. This mindset is especially common among seniors who live through economic hardships and learn to save everything. But here's what Carol discovered when she honestly evaluated her just-in-case items. In 10 years, she had used less than 5% of what she was storing. The rest was just taking up space and creating work for her to manage, clean around, and organize. The breakthrough came when she realized that most emergencies can be solved with a quick trip to the store or a phone call to a friend or service provider. She wasn't living in pioneer times where the nearest store was days away. Your action step: go through your just-in-case items and ask yourself, what's the actual likelihood I'll need this? And if I do need it, how easily could I replace it? Keep genuine emergency supplies and frequently used backups, but release the items you're keeping based on imaginary scenarios. Carol found that letting go of her just-in-case mindset gave her permission to live more spontaneously and joyfully. What's your most ridiculous just-in-case item? Share it in the comments. I bet others can relate. The next point about decision fatigue might explain why decluttering feels so exhausting. Decision fatigue is real. Start small to go big. Let me tell you why decluttering feels so overwhelming. Richard, a 70-year-old retired accountant, would start decluttering projects with great enthusiasm, then find himself exhausted and paralyzed after just 30 minutes. He thought he was being lazy, but the real problem was decision fatigue. Here's the 8th little thing you need to understand. Every single item in your home represents a decision, and your brain has limited decision-making capacity each day. This is especially challenging for seniors who often have decades of accumulated possessions, meaning thousands of decisions waiting to be made. Richard was trying to make 200 decisions in one session, which is like trying to run a marathon when you haven't trained for a 5K. The solution that changed everything for Richard was the rule of 15. He would make decisions about only 15 items per session, then stop. This might sound too small to matter, but here's the magic. 15 items a day equals 450 items a month. That's enough to transform entire rooms while keeping the process manageable and sustainable. The key is consistency over intensity. Richard found that by the end of each 15-item session, he felt accomplished rather than overwhelmed, which motivated him to continue the next day. Here's your sustainable approach. Set a timer for 15 minutes and focus on just one category, like books or kitchen gadgets or clothes from one drawer. Make quick decisions and don't second-guess yourself. When the timer goes off, stop and celebrate your progress. What category would you choose for your first 15-item session? Let us know in the comments. This next insight about replacement costs might surprise you. Here's a perspective shift that honestly has opened many eyes. Helen, a 73-year-old on a fixed income, kept broken appliances, worn-out clothes, and outdated electronics because, well, as she put it, they cost good money. She was so focused on what she originally paid that she couldn't see what keeping them was actually costing her. This brings us to the 9th little thing seniors must remember. The cost of keeping something isn't what you paid for it, it's what it's costing you now in space, energy, and peace of mind. This sunk cost thinking is particularly common among seniors who remember when money was tighter and everything had to be preserved. But Helen discovered something liberating when she honestly calculated the real costs. That broken vacuum cleaner she was going to fix someday was taking up 6 square feet of garage space. If she valued her home at $200 per square foot, she was essentially paying $1,200 to store a $30 repair job she never did. Those outdated clothes she might wear if they came back in style were taking up closet space that could house clothes she actually enjoyed wearing. The real breakthrough came when Helen shifted her thinking from "what did this cost me" to "what is this costing me now?" She realized that holding on to things past their useful life was actually more expensive than replacing them when needed. Here's your cost-benefit analysis. Look at broken or unused items you're keeping. Calculate the space they're taking up and honestly assess the likelihood you'll actually use or repair them. Often, the cost of letting go is much less than the cost of keeping. So what's one item you're keeping because of what you originally paid for it? Share in the comments. The final insight might be the most powerful of all. This final insight honestly ties everything together beautifully. Let me tell you about Arthur, a 76-year-old grandfather whose home was still set up for raising 4 children, even though they'd been gone for 20 years. He had playrooms no one used, formal dining settings for large family gatherings that rarely happened, and guest rooms filled with items just in case all the kids visited at once. Does this sound familiar? Here's the 10th and most important little thing. Your home should reflect and support who you are today, not who you were 20 years ago. This is the ultimate challenge for many seniors, accepting that your current life is different from your past life. And that's not just okay, it's natural and healthy. Arthur's transformation began when he asked himself a simple question. If I were moving into this house today, how would I set it up for my actual lifestyle? He realized he was maintaining a museum of his past instead of creating a sanctuary for his present. The change was remarkable. He converted the formal dining room into a comfortable reading nook, transformed one guest room into an art studio he'd always wanted, and turned the playroom into an exercise space. For the first time in years, every room in his house served his current interests and needs. This is your permission slip to redesign your life around who you are now. Your current season of life has its own beauty and requirements. Honor it by creating a space that celebrates your present self, not just preserving your past self. Here's your final challenge. Walk through your home and identify one room or area that's stuck in the past. What would you do with that space if it was designed for your current life and interests? What room in your home is most stuck in the past? Tell us in the comments what you'd love to transform it into. Now let's see how all these insights came together for one remarkable transformation. Remember Betty from the beginning? After applying these 10 little things, her transformation was truly remarkable. Instead of feeling overwhelmed by 40 years of memories, she learned to honor her past while embracing her present. She kept meaningful items that truly sparked joy, released the guilt around possessions, and created a home that served her 67-year-old self, not her 30-year-old self. 6 months later, Betty's home became her sanctuary. She converted her cluttered guest room into an art studio, her overstuffed garage into a workshop where she actually creates instead of just stores, and her bedroom became a peaceful retreat instead of a storage unit. But you know, the real transformation wasn't in her house, it was in her spirit. She stopped being a curator of other people's expectations and became the architect of her own joy. Betty now wakes up energized instead of overwhelmed, inspired instead of guilty. Her home supports her dreams instead of storing her fears. This could be your story too. These aren't just decluttering tips. They're life transformation tools specifically designed for the unique challenges and opportunities of your senior years. If these insights resonated with you, go ahead and hit that like button and share this video with someone who needs to hear it today. Your support helps us reach more seniors who are ready to reset their lives. In the comments, tell us which of the 10 little things surprised you most and which one you're going to implement first. I read every comment and honestly often feature your insights in future videos. Don't forget to subscribe and ring the notification bell so you never miss strategies for living your best life after 60.